What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Playing On Podcast. My name is Carl Markowski, and thank you for joining me. Tink. This is coffee. Because it's early. It's freaking early. Hey, thank you guys for joining me. We are on another episode. So let's get right into it. We are brought to you by Planet Eclipse. They have the new CS 1.5 come out, and it's lighter, better looking. It has the carbon fiber FL barrel, so it is pretty sweet. They also have all kinds of gear over at planeteclipse.com. Like if you want some pants, if you want some soft goods as far as like knee pads or jerseys or all kinds of stuff, Planet can help you out, and they have the #1 customer service of anybody out there. Make sure you check them out at planeteclipse.com. We are also brought to you by drpaintball.com, where you can find any marker you need. As far as online shopping goes, you can find all kinds of markers, and they will help you finance and get the marker of your dreams. That is so cool, having somebody help you out like that. So if you go to drpaintball.com, you can see all of that nifty stuff. And if you're in San Diego, California, they have a paintball field out there, which is pretty cool, an indoor paintball field. So thank you to Dr. Paintball. We are also brought to you by Carbon Paintball, the manufacturers of the base layer, the protective base layer. It's like a compression fit, also has elbow pads and knee pads, and they are also coming out with some newer style pants and a top. But you can check all of that out at carbonpaintball.com, and if you type in capital TPOP at checkout, you can get 10% off. So thank you, Carbon Paintball. We are also brought to you by Vantrition, the makers of some awesome paintball supplements, the Paintball Preload, the Paintball Reload, and all kinds of good flavored, awesome flavored proteins. They have like peanut butter cup, they have like raspberry raz, and it's all delicious. It all helps out a ton before and after practice, before and after an event. It's very, very good stuff. Make sure you check them out at vantrition.com, and if you type in capital TPOP at checkout, you can get 15% off. So thank you to Vantrition. And we are also brought to you by Midwest Clothing, the makers of some sweet headgear over at MidwestClothingLLC.com. They also have charity funds. They do really good things for the sport, and they are pumping out all kinds of custom gear as well. So make sure you check them out at MidwestClothingLLC.com. So thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you to you guys for joining me. We have a very special guest today, and Kyle Spicka. He is a former member of, let's see, we were just talking about it. It was, he's originally from the East Coast. I never knew this. And now he is a member of Dynasty, and a solidified member. He has been tearing it up with those boys for a while now. And, he fits right in. And, I think the sky's the limit for him. He has the skill to do it. And it was cool listening to his story because, you don't realize there's so many camps throughout paintball and throughout careers that you don't realize the small little intricacies that go into all these other little teams, and how many of these players came from all these different spots, because they had to have come from somewhere, but you don't realize it until you kind of get to know somebody, or you have a conversation with them and you realize where they came from. And it was really cool to hear his story. So enough of my babbling. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is Kyle Spicka.
Do you take probiotics ever?
No, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's a cure, I think. I started taking them last year, and I used to get sick twice a year and have to take antibiotics all the time. And I started taking that, and I haven't been. I think I've got sick once in the last year and a half now.
Really?
Super good. I swear by them.
Any brand in particular?
No, but I mean, there's foods too. There's like that drink, the kefir drink, and then
Hmm.
um, there's like Greek yogurt, and I can't eat it, but like sauerkraut, that type of stuff.
You don't like sauerkraut?
No, and then like what is it? I forget. There's like a bunch of like probiotic rich foods. I just drink like there's like liquids, or there's little shots, or like there's so many different brands. I think just getting a little bit in you, like whatever it
Hmm.
is makes a huge difference.
Now, is that like the gut health thing, or is that a different?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a gut health. It's basically putting like good bacteria into your stomach. Um, and then on the other hand of that, like the antibiotics, like I think people just don't even realize how bad they are. I mean,
Hmm.
I think you have to take them at some points when you're like dire need, like super sick, like strep throat and bad infections. But other than that, like those things just rid your body of like anything good.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then you think about all the shit food that people are eating. Like your
Yeah,
body is trying to fight all of these diseases and viruses and all this shit
yeah,
from the greens and the proteins and all the stuff you're supposed to be eating. But
yeah,
you start throwing in French fries and shakes and all this other shit, and your body's like,
yeah.
all right, well I'm gonna try and do what I can do with that. But then it just starts building up
Yeah,
crap.
and then you're getting drunk on the side and fucking smoking weed,
Exactly.
whatever it is. So it's like
Yeah.
your body's like, wait, I'm redlining.
Yeah, and I think the world now, especially like young athletes, and even in as we get into the conversation, but uh, young paintball players and the professional game itself right now, I feel has become so much more of an athletic based game than it ever
Yeah,
has in the past.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely getting that way. I just think there's like a big lapse in like in knowledge about that stuff. And like I mean, even like the podcast you did with Oliver, he said something about like we know more about like financing and accounting and like politics than we do about our own bodies, like about how you should breathe. And
Hmm.
I thought that was like a really good point he made because it's true. Like we don't really none of that stuff is taught to us at all, really,
Yeah.
when you're younger. I mean, on a very small scale, but at that point you don't really care too much because they don't embed it in you. But I think that's a huge thing that like nutrition and how to deal with your emotions or like it's okay to be you're going to be angry sometimes or you're going to be sad sometimes and that's not the end of the world. You're not a depressed child. Like that's just normal.
That's being
I
a
think a lot
person.
of that, yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is uh, kind of not never really taught to us. But
Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, bringing up older podcasts, I just listened to one. I don't think it's that old, but it's a Joe Rogan podcast, and he did one with, God, I cannot remember his name, but he just came out with a book called Tribe, and it was talking about how since we've gotten to this age of where we're on our phones all the time and we're doing all these other things making us feel like we're a part of a community,
yeah,
but we're not, and that sense of
yeah,
community and that sense of meaning in that community has gone so far to the wayside. I think that's why he was saying that is why a lot of guys come back from war and they want to go back, or they don't blink about
yeah,
going back because they have that camaraderie there, or
that
um,
struggle.
exactly that struggle
Yeah,
within a group, and then that feeling of being important, or the group being dependent on certain people in that group, and having that family feel. And
yeah,
I feel like that's what, bringing it back to paintball, I feel like that's what a lot of the top tier teams, yourself, Dynasty, Impact, X Factor, I think that's the number one thing that is helping you guys succeed. And in the sport, is that feeling of everybody on the team has a role, does it well, and is needed. You
of
know?
course. Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's what you hit it like right on the head. Wait, feeling that feeling that you're needed is one of the biggest part of it because now we're just like everyone's kind of given everything, especially in these like these kids are growing up super well off or what it is they have everything given to them so that's where the depression I think kicks in and they're unhappy because there's not really any struggle for anything so you're not actually you know feeding your actual human instincts and like feeling the appreciation of what you're doing is actually doing a lot of good for
Hmm.
a big group of people or even a small group of people But yeah, because there's no monetary value really in paintball. I mean, a little bit, but
Yeah.
not enough that why we're here and why we're still playing this game. But it's definitely bigger than that. It's like, uh, you're doing it more for the pride and the like intrinsic value of it, and like
Yeah.
you feel like you're actually going through a struggle and you're doing a lot of work, and it pays off emotionally and mentally versus like you're not trying to get like monetary things.
Oh, 100%. I think when we were first, how old are you?
I'm 26 now.
26.
About to be 27 at the end of July, so
Well,
getting up there.
yeah, and I'm only 30. Am I 31 or am I 32?
31, right?
I think
you
31.
were born in 1986, right?
Yeah.
I was like Scott and Short. You guys are
So
all
yeah.
listening.
So
Did a little research.
man,
Did my research.
I lost my balance there for a second on my age, but no, thinking about it too, it's like when I first started playing, it was never, if anything, I was throwing more money at the sport than I was ever. I never even thought about making money at the sport. All I wanted to do was turn pro.
Yeah.
Whatever that meant, you know what I mean? But to me, it meant playing the very best in the world.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do. And I think, I think we've said this before, is if you go into this just strictly because there is money to be made if you're good enough, if the circumstances are right, if all those scenarios come together, yeah, there's money to be made, but it's slim to none.
It's still a struggle too. Like,
it's still a struggle.
Like Ryan's doing that, but like he's working hard to do that. Like it's not easy. I'm trying to last like 2 years to do it. Like you gotta be hustling.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You keep going. Like,
Oh no, you're fine. Pretty much what I'm saying is just that when we first started, and I'm not telling anybody out there on how they should think or anything like that, but make it about yourself and about progressing yourself as a person and as a player, first and foremost. And if you can do that, and you love what you do, the world is your oyster, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be handed to you. So, but don't go into it for the wrong reasons. Anything for the wrong reasons. I mean,
of course. Yeah, I was reading like an old interview of yours when you were like, I think it was 19. You were just getting on excessive, but they were like, "Are you getting paid now?" And you're like, "No, a free ride." But like for a young kid, like that is like getting paid, especially from. I mean, everyone that's I think got to the pro division for the most part knows that little bit of struggle when you're first starting to play, like how much it costs and how your parents are like, "What? This isn't football or baseball. Like, I'm not giving you money for this." Like, and you have to tug on their shirt and beg them. Like, I think I would say probably, I mean, maybe not, but 80% of like the pros and kids in paintball now and competition paintball have gone through that. Because it's hard. Like unless you have really supportive and appreciative parents, like you have to beg them a little bit,
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You can't do everything on your own.
Societal like view of what sport you should go play. So.
Well, I think paintball is one of the hardest things to go pro at. I don't even know if I'd say that. Let's say monetarily, as well as the hard work and everything else that goes into it, and luck and all that. Just because, like, let's say you look at skateboarding. You need a skateboard, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at snowboarding. Yeah, that gear costs, a lot, and maybe a lift ticket every once in a while.
It's like a one-time kind of fee.
Exactly. And golfing or anything like that. Initially, the gear costs some money, but every time we go play paintball, at least when we first started, we had to fork out the money for all the paint and the gas to go to all these fields, because you got to play somewhere. It's not like you can just skate anywhere or do. So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of certain variables that have to happen for somebody to get picked up or looked at to go pro, or you be fortunate enough to be in some kind of paintball mecca like a Texas or a California, but even then I would say it's even harder at that point because there's so many people trying to do the same thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's crazy, and like I always say too, like I think we are fortunate at our time where it has its advantages and disadvantages. Paintball isn't that big, and I think it's allowed it to be a little bit easier to like sip out some of the other paintball players, but I mean, like imagine look at like baseball too or something like that. Like to get, I mean, you played baseball. Like to get climb the ranks is like
Oh yeah.
hard because it's so big now. So it's like I think that was one like advantage we have. I mean, who knows? I just think if paintball was a lot bigger, you'd see obviously a lot more people in the sport and maybe some naturals would emerge and who knows. But like going back to what you're saying, it's funny like the sacrifices you need to make for school sports or stuff like that. It starts to be because I feel like most people are starting to get into it in high school and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'm like the same as you. I had to put the after school sports on the back burner kind of and get a job.
Yeah. So let's go back. Let's talk about kind of where you're from, where you came from, and how paintball kind of came into your life, and where did all that happen, and how did you get your start?
So I got my start back in, I want to say it was 7th, 8th grade of middle school, which would be like 03, 04. Just kind of like rec ball. I had some friends in my neighborhood that liked to play, and then I was terrified of getting shot, which is as soon as everyone, and they were like, "Come on, we'll just shoot you one time," and I felt the pain and it hurt.
Yeah.
But something I think clicks when you get that first, like when you first get hit, and I got bunkered also like right the first time I ever played, and it didn't hurt that bad. But so I was like connecting all the dots, and I was like, that hurt, but it would be really fun. Like this sounds like kind of twisted, but like to inflict that pain on someone else. If you were
on the other side, yeah.
Yeah. So like it hurts, but like it's a good feeling when you get to shoot someone else because you know that you're putting that pain on them.
Yeah.
So I instantly got addicted, and I was just going to a local field, playing with a bunch of kids in middle school, and I didn't really have a good gun. I had like a Spider, and I remember the first chance I got, this guy was selling a gun. I saw actually, it was like one of your first guns too, Impulse.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy was selling it for like $600 with an egg loader. Jeez. And like a little 45 tank, which would have been perfect for me because I was like 4'3" to 4'7" all till the end of high school. I didn't hit my growth spurt till like right as a senior year.
Really?
So I had to have like the big drop forward, everything. The guns
sweet
were, like,
setup.
Yeah, guns were way bigger than I was.
It's like the guns were back then. The guns were taller than they were longer.
Yeah, super tall. Like there was like my whole torso at the top of my head. So I started playing with that, and I was like constantly, even through like end of my career, even up to like when I was on Ironman before I got on Dynasty, I was always asking teams to like give me a chance, even if I was like nowhere near their caliber. And I constantly tell kids this all the time, like you have to find like a mentor, and you have to be pushing them to like give you opportunities, because you throw yourself into these tough situations, and that's what's going to help you grow and struggle and be a better player. So I was asking these guys all the time, can you give me a chance, give me opportunity? Finally, they would put me on their teams, and I'd start getting better. I was forced to get better. I still was terrible at paintball, but...
So did you go from rec to tournament play fairly quickly? Like you wanted to make that jump?
Yeah, I want to say in like 4 or 5 months. I started playing just like some local tournaments with my friends. And then there was, I don't know if you remember, there was I think they still have them actually, but CFOA, it was way bigger back in the day, like Gridlock and Trauma Camp days.
Yeah.
Those were my first actually big tournaments, and they were big back in the day. There was like 5 divisions, like 60 to 80 teams playing those, all 5-man. And I got an opportunity with some local teams at this field called Black River in North Carolina.
Are you from the East Coast?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I let that out, but
I'm not sorry.
I was born in Washington D.C. and I moved quickly to Wilmington, North Carolina. It's this little beach town. Not much paintball out there, but the Gridlock camps are all out there in Greensboro, Charlotte. Like they had like a trifecta of big paintball. And that was kind of where I wanted to go as I was starting out. Mm-hmm. And that's what everyone in those areas was talking about, like Gridlock and Trauma. They were the team to be on. So I started climbing my ranks a little bit through these like 5-man teams. Mm-hmm. And finally, I went and tried out for the D3 gridlock team, and I made it. And then I remember the first World Cup I went to before I even had gotten on gridlock. The stands, you remember at Fantasy of Flight, or not Fantasy of Flight, Wild World of Sports at Disney, were like huge, like
awesome.
05. And there was NXL and PSP, and I got to see Trauma, who was like my childhood dream team, beat the Russians in 05. And then on the other side, I got to see like that long, big rivalry, Dynasty beat Excessive. It was,
I remember that one.
Yeah, and I was like, this is awesome. I want to be like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. So
I love those moments though.
Yeah,
I remember those, like being on Tipman Effect, and those moments, like it's so much bigger than what you are when you're there.
Yeah,
you know, because
exactly.
now we don't really think about it. It's another tournament. I mean, we don't take it as another tournament. Obviously, we're like working hard to win that tournament, and it means something. But we've done this so many times. But man, I remember those first times going to those fields and being so excited, like big shit-eating grin on my face, and like, I love those feelings.
They're amazing. They're definitely pretty memorable. Then so I started climbing my ranks through gridlock a little bit, and we had a huge camp. There was probably maybe 100 players within that camp.
I remember that whole squad being huge.
Yeah, pro team, D1 team, D2 team, and then 2 D3 teams. And as I was going up through D3 and D2, I remember I got like 3 or 4 second places, and I was like, dang it, I really want to get a first place. Then all of a sudden, everything just disappeared. Like Rob, the owner, just ended everything. Ended Trauma, ended all the gridlocks. And
was there a reason?
I think it was just becoming like unsustainable or unaffordable. I don't know what really all the background was. I was pretty low on the totem pole, so I'm sure like I was never told like the full story about everything. But it basically just dissipated, and I had nowhere to go. Luckily, I was just finishing high school, so I had a little bit of options. And to backtrack a little bit, I would just live with my mom. We never really had that much money. We lived in like apartments as I was growing up, and I started working when I was 15 or 16. I got a worker's permit and working restaurant jobs or at like this local surf shop to afford paintball. So I'd already kind of like had a good work ethic and knew what it takes to like get kind of what you wanted, and I could make some sacrifices because I didn't really have a lot to hold on to. So I was at that one part where I'm like, okay, well now everything's ended. I can go pursue like this societal like ideology of go to college, do this, get a good job, blah blah blah, or I can go move to Florida, which I'd been given an opportunity to play with the Palm Beach Viper camp, and continue down this career to become a professional paintball player. And I remember talking to my mom and grandma. They're basically the ones that raised me my whole life. My mom and dad separated when I was super young.
Thank you, moms and grandmas.
Yeah, so it's like and they still come to the events of the day. They like talk to the team all the time. And my grandma, who is a teacher, was a professor. She still was like, I think you should go pursue paintball. Like, you can come back to school. Like you can go back to school at any time. It's still going to be there, and you'll know what you want, I think, later on more. She's like, I constantly have these kids that come into school right out of high school, and they don't want to be there. They're forced to be there. So I put that on the back burner, and I ended up moving to Florida. Right. I remember it was like a week after I graduated high school. Moved to Florida, and Ken Bryson, the coach of the Vipers, was cool enough to let me live in this house that had like 4 or 5 of the team members, big, huge like paintball house, and I got that experience too. So that was pretty cool. And I played with them, and we got another I was getting more second places, and I was like, I'm itching at this first place. Like, am I cursed? And then I remember it was World Cup 2008. We had Thomas Taylor. And Thomas Taylor was playing with us, and I think there was something going on with the Pro League. I forget what was going on that year, but Rainey and Mouse were playing on Vicious, and we were playing for World Cup. I
I think
don't
there
know
was
if,
like an open division, I think.
yeah, but I forget if there was like some weird stuff going on with the Pro League or if it was just Aftermath wasn't playing. But I forget why they weren't playing. Um, so they ended up playing with us, and we had a really crazy match that I think we should have won, but they ended up prevailing, and like some of our team members overshot Rainy. I remember that was a super crazy point. And that's kind of where my relationship with those guys had started. And I would constantly like go to these tournaments and like tug on B Short's shirt, or like talk to Scamp and talk to Mouse and Marcelo, and slowly like make these guys my friends, and picking their brain all the time for information.
So at first were they like, who is this kid?
Yeah,
Who
they were
is
like,
this guy?
like, get away from me. And I remember, this is a really funny story too. Damien and Tally, when like those two guys are best buds, and RIP Tally, you know, like
Yeah.
I remember I was so small, and every time I would see them, I would run away because Damien, you know, he was a menace back in the day. He would like pick me up, like give me wedgies, like hold me in the air, like constantly just messing with me all the time. So every time I'd see Damien and Tally, I would run the other way. So that's where I started like knowing those guys and knowing some of the HK guys. And I was just like this little runt kid. Well, after that World Cup, things in like that camp started getting like, people started leaving, and stuff just wasn't working out. And I would talk to Marcelo all the time on Facebook, and maybe it was MySpace days.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, why don't you come try out for our semi-pro team? Like, I think you'd be a good fit, and you'd have to move out here, honestly, but like I'll help you. So I was like, all right, and I made a big sacrifice and take a big risk, and I packed up my stuff, drove home to North Carolina for like a week, and my uncle got in my car with me, helped me drive out to California. I was just telling the guys at lunch yesterday, I had like $400 to my name. Drove out to California, and Hinman was like, you can live with me for like a month. So I stayed with Mike, played on the team. Everyone obviously knows Mike's coaching style.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily if it fit perfectly with me, because I at one point I was like, I'm gonna quit paintball. But on the other token of that, I learned so much in just like the 2-3 months I was playing with that Aftermath camp. That like I constantly am telling the Aftermath team now, because we practice them like every weekend. You can learn so much from Mike. Like he really knows so much about the game, especially like fundamentals and basics. Like,
yeah,
it drives them into you. So if you take that, you know, you end up benefiting. He's produced a lot of good pro players. So
oh, for sure.
That didn't work out for me though. So I ended up quitting the team, and I was like, I love California already. Like, I think I'm gonna quit paintball. Like, I'm gonna make something happen here. I was moved out of Hinman's house, and I had a job at this point.
Was it because of
like,
that whole Aftermath situation of why you were thinking about
Yeah.
not playing paintball?
Yeah, exactly. I just like the coaching style and how I played did not fit at all.
Right.
But now me and him are like best friends, and I think it'd probably be different if we played now. But
Yeah.
you know, he just kind of broke me down, to be honest, and it wasn't fitting. And I was like, well, I love it out here in California, and I don't want to go back to either like really my hometown or back down to Florida. So I was like, I'm gonna stay here either way. And I was friends with Scott and Short and Bobby and all those guys, and it's when like most of the HK guys live down here in Pacific Beach where we live now. And I remember going to Glenn Takamoto's. He would always have a Super Bowl party, and I went there, and this was, I want to say 2010, and Brandon was like, dude, why don't you come try out for the Ironman? And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, just come out. Like, I think you'll make the team, and if not, like, don't quit paintball, you know? So came out, and I made the team kind of, but they were I didn't get any play time for like the first 3 events. So this was like
Yeah.
2011.
Which is tough.
Yeah, which sucked, and Oliver was still on the team too. So I was just kind of putting and learning and dealing with that, and I slowly started to get a little bit better. Slowly, and then Oliver was leaving, and then we were starting to lose. Like Billy retired, Miko retired, and then all of a sudden I'm looking around. I'm like, I'm a veteran on this team now somehow. Like there's like me, Short, Skemp, Rainey, and like I think that was it, Paxton, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it's like now this huge role got put on me, and then actually becoming the manager of the team. So I was booking all the flights and the hotels and doing that. So it was a big dump of responsibility, but I liked it, and it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I was forcing you into that situation definitely made me adapt really quickly.
Yeah.
And then I started to get a lot better, and we're like itching. I was just looking at like our scores. We were getting like constantly third, fourth, something like that, but never making the finals. So we're just missing that like last little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it? I think it was 2013 finally when Short was gonna go to Dynasty, and they wanted to bring me too. But I had a job with Ironman. I was a team manager. Like, I had a credit card, my name
kind of
on
solidified.
it. I was like, this is cool. Like I was getting paid to go book flights and be the manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of didn't want to leave, to be honest, at first. And Short was like, come on, it'll be a good change. And I took that leap again and went with Short. And then that year, 2013, when me, Tyler, and Brandon went to the team, was like the best year in paintball I've ever had to the date. Because we won the series, and then we won those first 2 events back to back, and then got second on the 3rd event. But I also I was playing with Art Chaos in Europe, and we were winning like these sub leagues, the CPS. We won like 3 of those, and then we won European World Cup, and I was going to Australia, and I won 2 events out there, and then we went to Colombia, and I won an event out there. So I think I won like 7 or 8 events that year.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, best year of my life. Like, on 4 continents, win an event.
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy, because not very many people even win 1, if not 2 events in their lifetime.
And it was crazy, because going back to what I was saying earlier, is that was the first time I had won a national event. It was when I got on Dynasty. Better yet, even a pro event.
Right. So,
like, I thought I was cursed, basically, got like 7 national second places,
mm-hmm.
and I get to Dynasty, like, these guys who, I mean, I've said this so many times, like, I've had posters on my wall, like, I've ripped magazines out and put, like, Be Short or, Ryan, Alex, all, like, on my wall.
Yeah.
And now I get to play with these guys, and then they help me win and teach me so much and get me to that next, step was huge. It was like dream come true.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing year as it was, and then from there, it took off from there, and now it's just kind of like a learning process, finding like those different parts of your game, those different like little errors of characteristic changes that you have,
Yeah.
most of the paint players know out there.
And I think that's what it is. I mean, the main goal is finding a team that fits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just one that you like, but it's one that where all around, all together feels and acts like a family on and off the field. And you can just, I mean, you can tell that with teams. And I think now, with your position that you're in, it's fine tuning your tools that you have, and focusing on yourself to be a better teammate on the, on and off the field.
And I was listening. I was listening to an old interview that you had with Maddie. I forget when it was. It was like, I think like 08 Tampa MPP or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was saying to you, he's like, I was hoping that you're not gonna like start developing into one of those front guys that thinks that their body is too valuable to risk. And I just recently heard one of our older guys, Slava. I don't know if you know him. He's been playing for a while. He's on my European team, but he was saying that too. He's like, the pro players, it's interesting as you develop through your pro career as a front player, you're bold because you don't have too much knowledge of how the game is and how like statistically where if you're going to make it to the spot or not, or how valuable it is. So you're like attacking, and you do produce a lot of kills. So when you do that, obviously, but you also do die in very important moments. But that's like the price you pay for taking that risk. And I thought that was interesting because I always think that too. And I think that as a player, I was in this area the last like year or so, not necessarily because of maybe how we were playing as a team, but thought that my body is a little more valuable as well. So maybe I wasn't taking as many risks like back when, say, I first got on Dynasty, those first 2 years where we were, making those incredible, like insane, like last minute points or stuff like that, comebacks as well. Not to take anything away from like that time versus then, because I think we're better now, but it's just interesting to see how you go through that mentally. Like I was just reading something the other day that like when you're bold, you don't hesitate, but like the more knowledge you have becomes more hesitation. So it's interesting. And someone that I think has done where credit is due is like Mouse. Like he's been able to like find that little niche where he can constantly press the envelope carefully. And I think he's doing it well too out there. But it's definitely interesting how that works, that little bit of theory.
That's what it is. It's that happy medium of where you think about the situation enough to know what to do, but quick enough to know when to do it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's the big jump from divisional play to professional play, is that timing. Because whether it be a move or at least for a back guy or a mid guy or a 2 or a 3 as it is now, it's turning that barrel at a certain time. And I was just talking about this yesterday with a buddy of mine. Was what are things that you look at when you're playing on the field to as you're pretty much playing the game out in your head as well as playing it out on the field? You look for even though the guns are ramping, the markers are ramping, you still have a shot rhythm. Whenever you're getting shot at, you can tell the rhythm or the beat that the player is shooting at you. Like, maybe this is just me and my weird brain that I think about while I'm doing this.
Same thing.
Yeah, because you got a back guy. I mean, you got, at least from the position that we play in, you got a couple guys shooting at you. And if you can find that rhythm that player is shooting at you with, you can do a quick head check or a quick couple balls at him and take off. And it's all about noticing those little things on the paintball field. Yeah. And I think that's another big thing. There's so many small things that make a big difference when you're going from divisional to pro, and that's what I'm telling to these new guys on the Aftershock team is, some games might feel a little bit easier than others as far as maybe some game we play against Heat or we play against it where they're having a tough game but we're excelling really well, or we get shit on by an uprising or something like that. But that shows it's like there are so many variables and so many little things that you need to keep tight on each and every point to produce for the team.
Sure.
It's hard to explain because paintball is such a niche sport with so many different little things that come into it, especially with playing at the pro level.
Yeah, of course. Your face is frozen here.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. So is it okay? It's still fine.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine, but yeah, it's all right. No worries. We'll keep going.
It's not going to mess up your feed, is it really good?
Well, if it does, I'm just going to show your face the entire time on YouTube when I post it up there.
Okay. Wait, I'm gonna use the bathroom really quick. Too much coffee in the gym.
No, I hear you. I'll talk about something.
1 second.
So pretty much what I was wanting to go back to, or the point I was trying to make, was that the differences between the professional and the divisional leagues, or that those two different spots, there's a lot that goes into them. There's a lot that goes into a certain move, or shooting a certain way, or being patient, and you cannot hesitate at the professional level because you will get shot, and the accuracy is so much better. Excuse me. I probably will be peeing soon too, because of how much liquid I'm taking in. I wonder why my pictures all froze.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll look to I don't know what we were dropping off. Just talking about kind of like the mythology in paintball. Like, there's definitely some different like timing aspects and different little things I think you change as a player or change against playing these players that we play so often and so much and the same people.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like knowing like maybe you have like the difference between when you're playing against like Colt Roberts versus Misha, like one's going to be a little more aggressive than the other, and like you might change your playing style or your timing or like this, when you're shooting versus when you tear off a little bit. And it's interesting about that because I think you have this little bit of data and memory that you keep for every single player in the league, and it's interesting how you try to like obviously not get repetitive and do the same things. If it's like even simple things like keeping someone in, if you're just shooting a ton versus trying to do it in like offset rhythm to get them to come out or whatnot. But I like that stuff. I think it's interesting and it's really cool, and it's what keeps you kind of coming back to it because there's so many changing variables that nothing's ever going to be the same.
Oh yeah. So how about this? Since you've been playing the Millennium, which is M500.
Yeah.
Do you think that the NXL will adapt that to the play next year?
Honestly, I hope. I really do. I mean, a lot of paint does. The unlimited paint kind of I think benefits us as a team right now because we can shoot a ton as our guns shoot like 10 to 14 pods or something crazy, but it'll help us I think. And I don't think they're going to do 2 pods. I think if the NXL was to adapt it, it would be probably like 3 or 4 pods each.
3 for sure.
Yeah, I would love that. I think
3 would be perfect. And no transferring of pods.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. But Mouse and I were talking about that the other day. Me, Dalton, Mouse. Like, it would be that. I think that would be, perfect. And to that, obviously it does hurt the paint companies a little bit because they're not making as much money. But I think the way that you solve that is to still have maybe the divisional teams have unlimited paint, and then also it helps for these pro teams that only have divisional teams to scrimmage against. It helps give them a little bit of an advantage and put you at like a little bit of a handicap.
Right.
So I think it would overall help, and it just gets rid of that 2-minute lull at the beginning of points when it's 5-on-5 and everyone is just shooting and no one wants to make any moves. I think you see a lot more skill come into things, and I think it would help.
Do you think there's more hiding, or is there more aggression?
I think there's more aggression. Because you know this as a front guy, like when you're down to a pod or when you're down to just a hopper and there's certain situations you feel like, okay, maybe I'm not in a position to really hold anything anymore. They're gonna get through. That guy's gonna make it down the Dorito. So like I need to go try to produce some kills. Yeah. I think that's you see that a lot over there too. I mean, there are some situations where it becomes a slow game, but not as much.
Yeah. see, and I've gotten so much flack for only carrying 4 pods, like
Yeah.
whenever I play. And I don't know if I just haven't accepted the fact that today's game is, carrying as much paint as you can. Not necessarily shooting as much as you can, but you can carry an unlimited amount, and controlling people, or at least what people say is controlling people with, volume rather than accuracy, when I feel like I enjoy it being the complete opposite. I'd rather control somebody with a couple, 3-4 balls of accuracy and be able to move down the field on them rather than having to hold them in all the time. Maybe that's what makes me a terrible back player. But but I would love to see the M500 or M750 or whatever the hell you want to call it. I think 3 pods would be better. Don't change anything, or don't let anybody have any other pods. 3 pods.
I completely agree. Like, just because that's how we've been playing a lot. I mean, in Vegas, I was carrying 9 pods as a front player.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
That's crazy.
I'm like, dude, my back is hurting. Like, I don't want to carry this much paint anymore. Please cap the paint for me. Like, because I mean, we're more like we play a little bit of a slower game, but I like to be up there and get in front. But I'm obviously going to play to the game plan,
Mm-hmm.
And our game has slowed down definitely a lot versus 4-5 years ago. But
yeah, and it's weird because I feel like or at least do you think that back then when it was 15 BPS, did you think we shot more back then?
No, I feel like people carry less pods back then.
And we shot 15 balls a second, and I think we moved more. So it's so weird.
It's weird. I think maybe people are just gotten so good. Like you look at fields now, and you're like, oh, no way you're going to make it to that corner maybe 25, maybe 50% of the time. Mm-hmm. And like back then, how were you viewing people making it anywhere with 15 balls?
I have no idea.
I think people just didn't really focus as much on the shot. But
yeah.
But then I was going to say something back to like what you say about like having 4 or 5 pods. You know who I think does it really well too as like a back player is Malloy. He never carries that much paint, and he's deadly, and he makes you forget about him, and then he's a fun player to watch too.
Yeah. And I don't know. I probably need to shoot more, but it's just that I don't like carrying a ton of pods, and I think having them. I don't like them on my sides directly. Mm-hmm. I don't like them on the top of my pack in those slots, just because that's another 2-3 inches that sticks up. And honestly, there'd be games where I go through, and I don't know if it's because I usually get shot off the break, or I get shot early trying to make a move or whatever. But then there'd even be points where I shoot, a couple of 2-3 guys and only not even go through a loader. So it's like, I don't know. It's like a weird thing how I try and justify not taking out more pods.
Yeah, I'm the same way. That's funny you said that about like the side pods. I hate it because like I feel like my tank is like goes right there where the pod is, and like it just doesn't feel comfortable or like what you're used to. I mean, you could do it if you have to, but like I'm the same way. I don't like having the side ones out like on your hips.
No. Oh, sometimes I will dive sometimes, and I think it's more or less of like an emergency dive. But there's sometimes where I will get completely on my side, like getting down and sliding. Yeah. And if I have a pod there, it's just going to jam my ribs up, and it's going to hurt like a bitch.
Yeah.
So how about this one? Do you have any kind of like ritualistic kind of things that you do before you play, or do you have a certain pair of socks that you normally wear, or do you have any like superstitions before you play?
I always wear this. I mean, I think most people like this, but I mean, there is one headband that I usually always wear. This brown, old Sandana, just head wrap that I no matter always wear, and I always wear a black beanie now for some reason, no matter how hot it is. Mm-hmm. I always have a black beanie on. So those are probably the two. But besides that, I don't really have too many superstitions or ritual. I do like something that Oliver brought to the team is kind of breathing, and when we're like in a team huddle or like stretching, I try to like. It's gonna sound funny, but like I try to envision like all of us connected in a weird way, like through energy, and they were like imagine like invisible lines basically just bringing us all together, being there as a team and gelling as a team. Because I not to get off track, but like I think that's the biggest thing in our league right now. Like everyone, for the most part, can shoot each other. Even these lower teams, it's just who's making fewer mistakes right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the biggest thing. Like, you don't make mistakes, for the most time, you're going to prevail in that match. So I think all being on the same page is huge right now. So I try to really envision that, and if it's just magic, hocus pocus, whatever, I think that trying to envision us all on the same page and in some weird way connected is important.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, because you can. I mean, you can recall all those matches that you've won and tournaments and whatnot, and if you go back, because I can recall them too, and if you go back and you can kind of feel it in the pit and on the field as well, like there's just, it's like a flow. Everything has this flow to it, and I can be completely focused on the field and come in the pit and be completely focused, and then you can just look at everybody on your team right in the face, and you have that knowledge and that energy and that consciousness of a oneness. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like everybody's just on that same page. And
and it's like that's the whole. It's. I mean, you listen to a lot of Joe Rogan stuff. It's like a huge presence, like in that exact time. Like you are absolutely not thinking about anything else in your life except for that right there.
Yeah.
And that's, really invigorating, I think. And we're striving to like constantly go back and get that feeling, because, we deal with a lot of shitty stuff in life, struggle for money or whatever it is. But when you go and do this, you're not thinking about anything else but paintball and that grind to win and that struggle, which is irreplaceable. Like there's no value on that, even in like probably the same in like NBA or NFL or anything like that. Same mindset. And I always like that one feeling, or like when the buzzer starts to count down, like the 10 seconds, and you're like looking on the field, and it's even like between then the buzzer goes off, between you're standing there, it's like a little bit different of a mindset, no matter who you are. The adrenaline kicks in. So there's like those 2-3 seconds where it's like super kind of like
surreal, peaceful.
You can't. It's hard to explain that through words, but surreal is good word for that.
Now, I know exactly what you're saying, and one of the things, this might sound weird, but one of the things, and I want to go back to Dynasty again too, but one of the things I like about this field and that feeling that you're talking about is the W being offset, and you can see the guys at the other end of the field. For some reason, to me, cool. I feel like I'm looking right through them and right at them, and I'm just like giving off this, ooh, motherfucker, I'm coming for you.
That's so funny you said that.
Yeah.
I feel the same. I like that as well too.
But we'll talk about the field here in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of go back to Dynasty, and I know you're talking about this aura and this oneness with the team and everything. But what has or what does Rusty Glaze bring to the table, and why has he been such a success for Dynasty?
So I think, obviously everyone else out there knows, like, Dynasty has some powerful, like, you would say, just, I guess, legends, like, on the team. Those between now, which is 3, the super, super high paintball IQ. And, Rusty realizes that, even through, like, some of the younger guys, so he doesn't say this is how it's going to be, do it. He really takes in everyone's opinion, especially like the older guys on the team, and he's able to mold that into, what he thinks is going to be the best game plan through verifying it kind of with us. But then to the next level is he brings in that coaching aspect that you always see, like it's kind of like a movie. You know, he brings in the motivational side, and he's constantly finding like ways to motivate us completely to be together, not just individually, but you know why we're doing this and who we're doing it for, and really pushing us as you know that we're doing this out here not for any money value. Basically, like you're doing it for this pride and for each other, and we might not have this chance tomorrow, and we'll go out there like not only win, but you're doing this for fun and cherish it and make these moments memorable, which is a big thing. And then a big thing that he does is he gives, you know, and I think it helps us and sometimes can hurt us, but overall helps us, is we play, for the most part, we play all of our guys. We usually do two lines. And even sometimes if people aren't playing so hot, you know, he's always there giving the guys opportunity. And I think that helps in longevity of the team. He always says that too. He wants longevity. He doesn't want, you know, 5 or 6 guys getting way better and then leaving like the other 3 guys behind in the pack.
Right.
Which, you know, will hurt you sometimes. You know, you might lose a couple of points because those guys were playing hot. But, you know, when it's like firing, it really is firing. So
yeah.
It's just kind of mixing the two, and I think he has a pretty open mind about things, and he's not super harsh, and he's not like someone that's like, this is how it's gonna be. I don't care what you say. Like he listens to everyone, and he's you know, there to help for not just himself but for the whole team. So.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think his level of mellowness, but constructive criticism, and it's a silent leadership. You know, I you know, I don't want to say what it is because it's coming from a third person perspective, or from an outsider's perspective. But to me, he has this, like I said, this silent leadership feel to him. Yeah. To where, you know, you can look at him and he can look at you and you can know exactly if you did something wrong or if you didn't, and then he can look at you and go, you know, just do it right next time. Which I think you need to have with Dynasty, because I don't think that type of coaching style works well if you're coaching like a Boom or a Reva or something. Those guys need direction from experienced player. Like they need, like, go here, do this. You have this skill. Like listen. He gives some freedom where freedom is due, and I think when you have these more experienced teams, that's kind of probably how you need to be a little bit, because maybe any one of those players could act as a coach as well. So I think it's a mix of the two, and you don't have to be necessarily as directive, but just like you're saying, you know, they have to be able to have that sense of calmness and, like, you know, you fucked up, like, correct it. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, and you don't need him to tell you, because you know, and at this level, you know when you fucked up, and you know that it's your responsibility to correct whatever you did wrong. So, and with how many pros and successful players that you guys have on your team, you know, obviously everybody knows that, and adjust accordingly. Yeah. So let's talk about now, since AC is approaching. We have this weekend coming up for practice, and then we're shipping off the following weekend for the event. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording about the field, which is non-traditional. It's got the W's offset, the snake. There's a bunch of bunkers thrown over there, but in a way you can actually play it, and the Doritos are in a nice straight line, which makes it, on one hand, makes it extremely, I don't want to say easy, but more what's the word I'm looking for, accessible maybe to get to the 50, but on the other hand, easily picked off if you're not paying attention on the snake side. You know, I don't want to ask about too much of where you're going to be playing, or you know, give away too many things of what you guys are trying to do, but everybody's doing the same damn thing anyway. But where can we see you playing on this field, or where do you like playing on this field? You'll probably see me in the snake, or as like
maybe sometimes as the snake insert, as a secondary guy over there. But I'll be over there still, per the usual. But yeah, it's interesting because I thought this field was going to be super fast when I first saw it on paper, especially like the Dorito side. I mean, the wall's offset, but it's not offset too much that it's not. I mean, that thing is so big, it's like still it takes up the whole middle.
You can still go there.
Yeah. So, and then there's like all those middle bunkers. So I think it's going to be really interesting, and I think it's going to be one of those fields that, like when you get to those Sunday matches, you're going to see people are obviously will start to get in that like both teams are playing like the same breakout. But there's like these little different intricate bunkers that I think you'll see people like those are what's going to open the game is like getting to those little spots or like randomly going to like, you know, these like the little Dorito on the snake side and throwing stuff in there that's kind of unorthodox. I think that like it'll be interesting, and I think the pace is going to change a lot at the event. We'll see because the field will play fast and the field will play slow too. Obviously, I mean it always slows down a little bit, but with those middle bunkers too, there's a lot of opportunity up there to make, you know, breakthrough points and stuff like that.
What do you think is going to be like the heavy side, like the 3-man side? Is it going to be more towards the snake, or do you think it's going to be more towards the Doritos, or flip flop?
I think it'll flip flop. I mean, obviously, I think you'll see teams like X Factor a lot doing like a heavy 3, the snake side running all over the place. So the Doritos side to me seems pretty powerful. If you play that side smart, you know, you'll get a lot of penetration over there. But I think it'll probably flip flop. I mean, like I said, I think this field is going to play. There's a lot of options, and I think you're going to see lots of different teams exploiting it. It's going to be, you know, because it's always like everyone finds like their niche of game plan, and then they get to the event and they're like, wait, like Heat's doing this, and they're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Our
game plan is not going to work against them. We have to like adapt to their game plan. So I think you'll see a lot of like interesting first prelim matches, and then the teams that are able to like dial in the way the field's going to play the quickest are going to be the teams that prevail the most. Because, you know, I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now in practice that, you know, see when it gets to the event, what's really going to work.
Yeah. I think what going along with the M500 or whatever they hopefully change it to, I think what would be cool, and I'm referring to this field because of how different it is, like not releasing the layouts until like Thursday or something. I think would be really interesting, especially with a field like this.
Oh yeah, it would be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see too if they're going to keep the wall for next year, take it away. It's definitely made our jobs a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what they're gonna do. You know, I haven't really heard anything. I'm not on like PB Nation, like going through forums or anything like that. So anything I usually hear, I hear from the guy I work with.
Okay.
Yeah, he's always like looking up all. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And he's like, no, I just heard it now because you're my informant on everything.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's definitely. I mean, I think the wall, big part, has made it a little bit harder for. I mean, just front guys in general. Because you constantly, that's just a whole nother factor you have to worry about. I mean, you don't see too many. There are breakthroughs as the front guys, but not as frequent as it used to be.
Yeah, another thing to listen for, and another head check that you got to look out for.
I mean, those really good wall players, like, you know, you have like your Tylers, A-Rods, Nick Laval's, like LJ. You have like a higher percentage of surviving off the break, possibly getting a kill, getting another kill if someone trades with you, and then you have that open like breakthrough if it's like a 5-on-3 or obviously. So, you know, I think that player that's playing it well has a good advantage up there.
All right, so those damn stats, dude. Those stats.
Yeah.
I think that if you're a front player and you go to a corner or you go to a snake or you go somewhere where a back player in the middle of the field shooting their gun and you make it to that spot, I feel like you should get a point or something, dude.
I agree. Yeah.
We are taking so much more of a risk going there than the guy in the back center. And if we shoot them, we never get the credit for shooting the guys off the like running and shooting the guys in the center. It's always somebody else. 3
kills for that.
Something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, that's so funny because we were talking about that too. Like, it's those guys going to the wall. It's really, I mean, I'm not hating on it, and I always say this too because everyone's like hating on the stats too. Sometimes like it's not fair. It's not like really what's the word I'm looking for?
Accurate.
Like that accurate. Yeah. It's not that accurate, but like it's better than nothing. You know.
Oh yeah.
We have it, which I'm appreciative that we even have what we have. You know, and as we slowly get better, you know, us complaining about it just makes it.
I'm just sour because my stats suck.
Yeah. My stats are, but it was funny because the last layout, you know, like a lot of people were just going to that little race, that first bunker on the snake side, and the snake side was playing pretty slow. And I remember we had like a really good day Friday, and we were like having a meeting. I was like, I didn't shoot anyone the first day. They're like, what? It's like, I didn't. I was just doing like my job, and I didn't shoot anyone. And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, no, I swear, I really didn't shoot anyone.
Check the stats, bro.
Yeah, but I ended up having like somewhat, so I don't know where. Maybe I got a little love from the stats guys or something.
All right, man. Well, where can everybody find you on social media?
On social media, for Instagram, it's Kyle Gosling, a little nickname there, and then Facebook as well, Kyle Spicka, and then Twitter as well is just K Spicka. But
cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. I really enjoyed. It was awesome. Thank you for your time.
I'm glad that having me on. I like what you're doing and like the path that you're going down here, and I think it's good for the sport. So
thank you very much. It means a lot, and a lot of the guys that I'm picking out, I feel like they have stories to be told, and it's super interesting stories that not only myself would love to hear, but as well as everybody out there. And I think with the technology that we have, what better way to do it? Because otherwise you would hear it through other, only if we knew other pros and heard the stories, you wouldn't really hear anything. So
because most of even like for the kids out here listening that are like they're watching at home, watching the webcast, you see a lot of just people with their mask on. Like you don't know the personalities behind it, and I feel like doing stuff like this and giving more content of players' background, creates more of a connection to the players and creates more of like, of an audience and more drive to come to these events and more drive to, have like a connection to actual more paintball and be more involved.
Oh, I think it makes, when you're watching somebody too, like they watch this and they kind of hear your story, and then they watch you on the webcast, and it makes it a little bit more personable.
Yeah,
you go, I know that guy a little bit more because of this, and maybe it kind of gains a little bit of a fan base. Not that you don't have one already, but it's more or less just like you kind of have that connection with that guy.
Yeah, so. And it kind of resonates, and then people, I feel like maybe more have that need to like get better at paintball and be more involved in paintball and know that we're the same as everyone else out here. Like there's nothing special to us. It's just we
all started on the ground level.
Commitment. Yeah. So there's nothing special about us. We're just same. We're all humans here. So
yeah. Well, thank you again, man. Hope you have a great practice this weekend, and good luck. And I hope we play you guys eventually in AC because I always love playing you guys.
Yeah, thank you. You too. I'll see you soon.
All right, bud. Take care.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Anytime. Kyle. Make sure you check Kyle Gosling out on social media and follow that guy wherever he goes around. He has an interesting story, life, everything. Thank you so much, Kyle, for sitting down. It was a great time, man. And another quick thank you to our sponsors, Dr. Paintball. Make sure that you check them out, drpaintball.com. They have all kinds of crazy financing over at drpaintball.com. Also to Planet Eclipse, the CS 1.5 manufacturers of one of the best paintball guns around. Also the LVR. That's my hot ticket, man. That's where it's at. They're also in the works with a G-Mech, a mechanical toy. Ooh, it's going to be cool. Carbon paintball, you can get 10% off with capital TPOP. Base layer, it's very sweet. Check it out. Midwest Clothing, MidwestClothingLLC.com, MidwestClothingLLC.com for all kinds of headgear and custom gear. Again, capital TPOP for a promo code, and you will get 20% off your entire order. And thank you to Vantrition, where you can go to vantrition.com and get 15% off with capital TPOP. But make sure you check out all their supplements and their proteins and all their little goodie bag. Even if you don't play paintball, they have like football supplements, they have baseball supplements. Check it all out at vantrition.com. Thank you everybody for joining me. We got through another one. That's awesome. I have another one in the works for next week and the week after that. I know they're kind of spaced out, but I've been super busy lately, not only with this, but I've been helping Carbon out, and I'm trying to do this video vlog thing, and then real life, and you know, and the tournament, the NXL AC AC Atlantic City Open is like right on the corner. It's like literally next week. So we have one more practice this weekend, and then we hit the road. I think I'll be there on Thursday because I don't get that many days off work because I have a 9 to 5, and trying to play paintball is tough. But thank you to everyone listening. Thank you so much. You guys have been so supportive through this whole thing, and you know it would be really hard to do this without all you guys listening and giving me good feedback. So thank you so much, and make sure you go on to all of the social media. You can find me at cmarkizzle on Instagram, as well as the Playing On Podcast. Same thing with Facebook, Carl Microwave Markowski, and the Playing On Podcast on Facebook as well. If you guys have any questions or have any suggestions for guests, please go on to those platforms and shoot me a message or a link or something. Just talk to me and let me know what's going on. Let me know what's happening, and we will definitely work something out for sure, because you know I want to bring you guys sweet beans content. So thank you everyone again for listening, and we will see you here next time on the Playing On Podcast. See ya!